Alright, Chapter 6, Blocks and Hatches. What are blocks and how are they defined? How to use the insert blocks, how to explode and convert blocks, how to hatch and Autocad, how to control a hatch and Autocad, how to edit a hatch. Alright, 6.1, why do you need blocks? In daily work with a wheel shape, you will need to repeatedly with the two options of either draw it in each time or draw it once and save it as a block. The block will be a single object. This can be used to insert as many times as you wish in a current file with any other files as well. Lots of benefits will be gained in blocks, or even the file size will be less due to the fact that each block will be counted as a single object. Standardization for same company speed with the completing of the drawing, even the design center of the tool palette, how to create the block. In order to create a block, make sure that you take the following step with the draft the shape of the one to create the block with the layer 0. Layer 0 will enable the block to inherently properties with color, line type, and line weight of the layer will reside. Make sure that the control of the block unit will enable the AutoCAD with the automatically scale of the block to appear with the right side of another drawing. Draft shape that really want to create the block from it is a real life dimension. Let's assume you were drawing the shape. Now you're ready to issue the command with the insert of the tab of the block definition panel to create the block. We went to create block with the block definition with the block command. You'll see that is the command line, the following dialog box. Shoot the name, base point specified on the cream X, Y, and Z. Settings block, put meter units, meters, hyperlink, one of the block editor objects specified on the screen. Select object, pertain, convert, and delete. No object select with the description, behavior, and the note of scale uniform, and allowing exploding OK, cancel, and help. Do the following block name. It should not exceed 255 characters, only numbers and letters of this dash, hyphen, underscore, and dollar bill sign in space. Specify the base point, either type of the X, Y, and Z coordinates, selecting the pick point over the button, input with the base point graphically, with the select object button with the selected desired object. AutoCAD will create with the drawn object with the object block. But what should be done with the object afterward, the user should select one of the three choices available, either retain, leave the objects as they are, convert them into a block, or delete them. Select whether the block will be annotated. A feature will be discussed in Chapter 9, whether to allow the block to scale uniformly between X and Y, and whether to allow to explode with the block later. Select the block unit. They will tell the AutoCAD which the AutoCAD unit uses the block equal to the help of the AutoCAD automatic scaling feature. To the type of the block description, turn on the checkbox for the open the block edit of the office becomes the advanced feature with which you can create the dynamic blocks. Once you finish the input with the air above the data for the click OK with the layer will use the insert of the block will insert with the only a copy of the block of the definition original block definition will be stay intact. How to use or insert blocks. After block creation, the user is ready to insert the block with the current drawing. Nonetheless, should make sure that they are on the right layer of the drawing is ready to accept the block. Make sure that the door openings are made before insertion of the door. For example, now you're ready to issue the command with the go to insert tab, click locate block panel, and then click the insert button. Now you've looked at the insert and now you've seen your blocks and your more options. You will see the list of the current blocks available on the drawing. Use the method of the chain with the select scale of the rotation angle very fast way with the insert block with your drawing. On the other hand, you would likely customize the insertion process with the select more options following dialog box. If the block is created with the current the file with the pop-up will select you always use the click of the browse button to select the file, insert with the current file as a block. Either should be set for the insertion point scale with the rotation angle, either using the specified on-screen checkbox with the type of the needed value of the scale will insert the mirror image of the block with the negative values. Check with the following illustrations. X1, Y1, X negative 1, Y1, X1, negative Y1, X negative 1, Y negative 1. While you're inserting, rotating, and remember the counterclockwise is always positive. Put block insertion point O snap after inserting block coincident clicking to see the following. The whole block is one unit, only one grip. The insertion point is highlighted with the specified the O snap at the snap of the point called the insertion, insert, depending on whether you're looking at it. Check with the following illustration, and show the practice and exploding odd blocks and converting them into files. Alright, exploding blocks is polyline with explode into line arcs. So that you can do the same with the thing with the block with explode with the command will bring them back to the original object with the practice. Definitely not recommended. Always you advocate with the keeping blocks as one object, not exploding them. Just use the command, go to home tab, command, modify panel, select the explode button. Or explode command on the type explode in the command line. You'll see the following prompts. Select objects, select with the desired blocks, press enter for the enter for the command, converting blocks to files. This is an odd practice with which we will convert all the other blocks to files in order to use it in other files. The practice was eclipsed by an emergency of the design center and tool palette. To issue the command with the insert tab of the block definition, click with the right block button. or W block command line. You'll see the following dialog box that will give you the right source of the name of the toilet, the enter the object with the base point with the objects, and the destination file name and the path of the insertion units. Select the block option under the source of the name of the block under the destination input with the file name and the path of the specified of the insertion unit. You can use the same in the dialog box to create the file with the inside of the drawing, some of the objects in the side drawing. Practice. Hatch in AutoCAD. AutoCAD can have the hatch closed area with a non-closed area with a maximum distance defined by you. There are two hatch pattern files with the code of the AutoCAD. They are AutoCAD PAT and AutoCAD ISO PAT. With the hatch pattern files extension are asterisk.php. The wildcard pat. These pattern types of solid or single pattern group that covers the area with a single solid color. Gradient, two gradient colors are mixed together in several fashions, patterns, several predefined patterns, and use the defined simplest pattern parallel lines. 6.6 Hatch command first step. The command will put the hatch with the drawing to control all the property to preview the instantaneous. If you have the hatch command, go to Home tab, locate with the draw panel, click the hatch button. You will see when the new contact was added the ribbon with the hatch creation. You will see with the several panel. We'll always discuss once we come to each one. You will first step. You should be locating the property panel with the top left part and select the hatch type as shown below. Once you select the hatch type and locate with the pattern panel with the AutoCAD, will take you to the first pattern. We'll select the type of the first instant for the insert of the gradient in with the hatch type of the first pattern with the pattern line gradient linear, which is the first pattern in the gradient patterns. Now simply go without any of the clicking the desired area to be hatched. You will see the area filled. At the moment there are two choices there. Like result of the click to pick the area with the close the panel and then close hatch creation. If the result does not satisfy, you need the control of the property to hatch in an attempt to rectify the result. Controlling hatch property. If you collect the inside of the area that you don't like the result, but you need to alter the property for the hatch, all of these functions exist in the property panel. They are hatch color, specify the color of the hatch, leave it as you the current. Background color, specify the color of the background, leave it at none. Transparent with it by default, all the colors will be the normal colors, but you can increase the value of the transparency maximum 90 to decrease the intensity with the color of the hatch color of the background color angle. This is for the angle of the hatch line, but there is no effect of the solid hatching. Scale, if you have the defined type of the you can use the called spacing, input the scale of the spacing, select with the hatch pattern. Hatch layer override by default with the hatch will reside with the current layer using this function only. Specify with the layer you want to hatch either reside in regardless of the current layer. Double the option is only available with the hatch type that you the defining controls whether the lines are in one direction or cross hatched. Practice, and we skip the practices and the chapter reviews. Specify with the hatch origin. When you want a hatch area with a pattern to start with a certain point with a not a by with the default settings of AutoCAD, then you need to manually hatch either origin by default. AutoCAD 0 to 0 starting point any hatch, which means that you'll never know for sure to hatch your hatch will display correctly or not. In order to control your hatch origin, make sure you're still in the hatch creation context. Locate the origin panel. You'll see the following. The parent button set origin will ask you to set the origin point to the desired or the predefined points lower left hand corner, upper left hand corner, etc. You have the ability to save the point with a picture of the future instead of using 00. See the following example. The default origin is in the lower left corner. Controlling hatch options. Use option control the outcome of the hatching process. For the options, you will be able to open hatch the open area with the gap tolerance for the create separate hatch if you mention only a few. How to create associative hatching. Hatch AutoCAD is associated, which means with the hatch understand the boundary of the fill of the boundary chain with the response correctly. Check the illustration below for the current hatch. Windows moved hatch responds. Window moved hatch didn't respond. How to make your hatch annotated. The annotative is an advanced feature related with the printing we'll discuss later in this book. You might use matching property to create identical hatches. Option will create identical hatch with the existing hatch if they will reside with the same layer, also have the same angle with the scale and the transparency. Especially the option with the two button associated with it is you the current origin and you the source of the hatch origin. Both of the options are selected with the script itself descriptive. So with the match property button, you will see with the following prompt. Select with the hatch object, select object. Select object with the desired with the mimic. You will see with the following prompt. The internal point. Select with the object and settings. Click inside of the desired area. Keep the selected area when done. Press enter for the end of the command. Alright, to hatch the open area with the default AutoCAD will hatch one with the closed area. However, you can ask the AutoCAD to hatch any area with the opening to the AutoCAD tool will allow the hatching opening area. Simply set with the gap tolerance, which is the maximum allowable opening area. With any area with the opening bigger with the values will not be hatched. When you want the hatch area with the preview will not be displayed according, you will need to click inside of the open area. You will see the following warning message. Hatch boundary is not closed. What do you want to do? To continue hatching in the area, don't hatch area. Show details allowed. Perform either the current choice. Each continue hatching opening area of the scripting operation. 695. Creating separate hatch with the same command. Use the same command hatch several separate areas. AutoCAD will consider the in single hatch or in single object. You can override the default setting by telling AutoCAD that you want a separate hatch with the four separate areas. Simply click the button. Single object. Separated hatches. Island detection. While the hatching the area contains several areas of the island, these inside of the areas that contain more islands. When you know AutoCAD will treat these islands, the four different ways to do them are create separate areas: outer island, outer island, ignore island, and normal island detection. AutoCAD will hatch the first area with the outer one, but then leave the second one hatching the third, and so on. Outer island will hatch the outer area only. Ignore island detection. Ignore all of the inner islands. Hatch the outer islands area as if there were no areas inside them. No islands detection option will turn off the island detection, which is same result of the ignore island detection option. Set hatch draw order. Hatch like any other object with the AutoCAD. You can set the draw order of relative to the other objects. You can have 5 choices to pick from, and those are do not assign, send back, bring front, send behind boundary, bring in front of behind boundary. 5 cases do not assign with the default send back, bring to front, send behind boundary, bring to front of the boundary. Click the following example and then show the practice in 610 hatch boundary. If we're discussing older version of AutoCAD with the panel with the boundary panel with the first panel with the discover the instantaneous display with the hatch. Once you have the inside hatch over the display with the important part of the version, hence delay discussion until the end. Depending on whether what you are doing, creating a new hatch, editing existing ones, some of the buttons, if they turn off, some of them will be valid. The pick points button is always on, which will allow you to pick the area with the hatch, select with the remove of the add, remove the more object included in the hatch boundaries. If you're editing hatch by clicking the recreate the button on with the button, would you help the recreate the boundary with the region of the boundary? Would deleted simply by clicking the hatch into the boundary, clicking the recreate button, you will see the following prompts: enter for the type of the boundary, object, region, polyline, reassociate the hatch with the next boundary, yes or no. But the first prompt will ask you select with the desired boundary type. That asks you the reassociated boundary with hatch. You select with the hatch with the AutoCAD will enable the highlight with the display with the boundary object. You can see with that boundary and check the following illustrations. Boundary objects, display boundary object off, and display boundary objects on. When you create a hatch, the AutoCAD normally creates the polyline with a region with the fits with the boundary exactly once for the command ends. AutoCAD will delete it, rename the boundary pop-up list. You can ask AutoCAD to keep it as a polyline as a region or not to keep it at all. In order to hatch command to work, if it is needed to analyze all the object current viewport with the model, with the meaning of the area, with the seeing, with the right now, with the making of a very long time, and depending on the number of the object, you can ask the AutoCAD to analyze with only those of the object rather than all objects with located. Select the new boundary setting button, which is under the you'll see the following prompt: select with object, select with the desired object, press enter for the pop-up list will reread the time as the boundary set instead of the default prompt. 611. Editing hatches. Editing hatch AutoCAD has never been easy for the two-way for the editing the hatch. Click with the single click with the property, double click with the 50 click with the hatch for the single click with the 3 things for the displace will take place. You will see with the grip the small dot with the turn of the area. The content for the hatch editor will appear with the include with the same panel with the hatch for the creation includes. Quick property palettes will appear with the if you move the mouth of the grip without clicking. You will see with the following menu: stretch, origin, point, hatch, angle for the hatch scale. You can do any and all of the following stretch, which would be stretching the hatch by move the hatch instead. In order to sketch the hatch, stretch the hatch. Preferably display boundary objects are disclosed above. Modify for the origin point with the spot. Modify for the hatch angle for the spot. Modify for the scale on the spot. And also, content for the hatch editor will make the necessary modification to cover the contain the same panel with the hatch creation tab. The quick property palette will appear with a hint for the user can make the edits new and show the properties of the hatch. On the other hand, double click on the desired hatch, select the hatch right with the clicking, select the properties option will show the property palette. And once again, another property palette. The data available with editing everything related with the hatch property option boundary more over the property palette will provide with a single piece of the information. The other method is done which the area with a hatch, the select with a hatch, single hatch, whether single area, multiple areas hatch, or single area with the area field with the cumulative of the area will be the same, but is the symbol of multiple areas created using different commands. You will see with the cumulative of the area field with the area field with showing the various value of the select with the hatch and right area with the will see with the hatch related editing command. Hatch edit set origin set boundary generator boundary. Which will do all of the following. Hatch edit will show you the old hatch dialog box. Set origin will help you set with a new origin. Set boundary will help you set a new boundary. Generate boundary will regenerate a new boundary for its hatch. And then show the practice and the notes. Chapter review answers. Chapter 7, the writing text.